Welcome to Red Door Property Management Podcast. Here I am. My name is Chris Knight, Business Development Manager here with Red Door Property Management. I've got Mike Taylor, Broker Owner. Mike, how are you doing today?
Excellent, Chris. How you doing?
Good. I'm doing well. So we're going to do things a little bit differently today. We haven't reviewed any of these numbers. We are jumping in raw and we are going to review all the data right along with you guys. So I think this is going to be a little bit more exciting. You're going to see a little bit more of our blips, if you will, as we go along, which I think is part of some of the exciting stuff that kind of happens as we're dissecting some of this information. And I think we were really doing a disservice to our viewers when we were leaving some of that stuff out. So
Yeah.
here it is. This is the non-polished version of all of our podcast creation and ideas. So let's see how this goes.
Let's do it.
All right. So I know we were talking about jumping into some of the economic stuff that's happening around the Indianapolis area. Do you prefer to start, or I've got one I shared with you the other day. I can start with that one, which I'd really like to read pretty much the entire article.
Sure. Yeah, go for it.
Do you know which one I'm referring to?
No, I have no idea. I get a million emails a day.
Take a look
I have
at
no
it.
idea.
Okay, cool. All right, good. This is good. All right,
It'll be
so
like
here
new
it
to me
is.
again.
Yeah, and that's exactly. I wanted real reaction on all of these recorded segments. So here, and I can't wait to get your thoughts on this. And I'm not sure, really. I haven't, as I'm still absorbing the information. I'm not sure where I really settle on this yet either. So here it is. Built to rent. This is a story I pulled from WTHR here in Indianapolis. So built to rent communities that are showing up in Indiana, and this particular community is happening in Brownsburg. So here we go, Brownsburg, Indiana. In Brownsburg, one of Indiana's fastest growing communities, builders are working every day to keep up. But in one neighborhood under construction right now, not a single home is meant to be sold. All 165 will soon be available to rent. This is a quote, filling a gap. Senior Vice President of Buckingham Companies, Justine, said that the Indianapolis-based real estate company is known for its apartment projects, but is partnering with Onyx East Plus to build what's known as a built-to-rent community at US 136 in Northfield Drive in Brownsburg. People want to have single-family homes, but they may not be able to afford it. So we really looked for a site they can cater for that they need. As Indiana sees increasing demand for affordable housing, a new trend is emerging that promises to reshape the landscape for residential communities, built to rent neighborhoods that are making their way into the state, offering a unique blend of the privacy and space of single-family homes with the ease and convenience of professional property management. The mural Brownsburg will feature 165 3 and 4 bedroom single-family homes between 1,500 and 2,100 square feet. They will include attached garages, fenced-in yards, plus neighborhood amenities too. There will be a clubhouse, a playground, and pool, plus full-time maintenance teams. Masoneer said the price will be below the average single-family home monthly mortgage payment, which I thought was kind of surprising. Mm-hmm. Recent numbers show people are waiting longer to buy a home. Now, this is why I wanted to read the whole article. This is additional information that I think is super valuable. Recent numbers show people are waiting longer to buy homes. The median age is now 38. So that's me right now. I'm 38 years old. I can't even imagine, right? I mean, we've owned a home
38
we've owned a home for 10 years, right? 2 homes, 10 years. I can't imagine waiting until 38 to buy a home. So that's the median age right now. And with the housing shortage just coming up on the end here, and with the housing shortage and higher mortgage rates, finding that first home can be tougher than ever. Built-to-rent communities really started to take off a few years ago in much larger metro areas like Phoenix, Dallas, and Atlanta. That trend is now here in the Midwest and not just Brownburgs. Similar communities have recently popped up in Greenfield, Carmel, and Lafayette. The economics make sense, says Doug McCoy with Indiana University Center for Real Estate Studies. Demand is very strong, but supply is not so good. All right, So that's pretty much it. What's your take on this? Is this a surprise to you? Did you know about this? I mean, this is news to me. I was very shocked. I'm going to let you respond, and then we'll go from there.
Not news to me, no. I mean, as the article mentioned, this is a growing trend nationwide. We've seen it here. There is one in Carmel. There's one in Westfield. So this is definitely a growing trend. I think it's just, the market meeting the demand for me. You are always hearing about lack of supply, and not everybody wants to rent an apartment complex. That's
That's
just
right.
the truth of the matter. And it's also maybe just a recognition of that we are becoming more and more of a nation of renters. To your point of it's now 38. I did not know that. That is shocking to me. 38 is the average age. And more people
I
are
know.
wanting that mobility. If they
Yep.
want to take a job or move somewhere else, it can stink to own a house if you want to get rid of it. It's not exactly a liquid asset. So I think people are, waiting until they're really settled in their life before they decide to purchase. So no, it's not a shock to me. As a owner of single family homes, I don't love it because it's an increased supply, but I
It's
don't think it's going to be
competition.
I don't think it's going to be an oversupply. I'll tell you that.
I mean,
What are your
so
thoughts?
Brownsburg, although I mean Brownsburg is a growing community, as they indicated in the article, and as we've been
Yeah.
saying on this podcast
Yep.
for some time now. So 165 homes immediately becoming open on in the Brownsburg market.
Yeah.
That would be my. I think I would have a little bit of reservation if I think I'd stay away from the Brownsburg market. I think the competition there is going to be overwhelming in the short term because of that 165. And if they're able to achieve what that is that they're stating, which is have rent prices that are under your average mortgage price for a 1,500 to 2,100 square foot home, how the hell are you going to compete with that?
Yeah. I don't know that we every month we report on how Brownsburg, the whole west side is undersupplied, and there's like what 19, 20 on the market. I mean, that's so few for how many there are now. 165 hitting the market all at once. That's going to be tough. I'm sure they'll stagger in,
Right.
but you're right. No, it's definitely gonna affect the supply side of things for sure.
Now, I mean, the second part of my opinion, which I kind of alluded to a little bit in last month's podcast, which was my kind of foresight into what I think is happening in the real estate market right now, which I think actually since my last podcast, it's become a little bit more what's the right word, revealing to your average consumer that there is a shift. In fact, if you remember, and I'm going to call you out on this, you weren't even convinced of the market take that I kind of had, right? That we
Yep.
might be on the edge of entering a more of a buyer's market because the sales market is not completely frozen, but it is certainly starting to solidify, right? It's starting to
Yep.
freeze up. Nothing's starting to sell. I think that inevitably will bring home prices down, and then of course mortgage rates. I don't think there's going to be any immediate change in the short term, but I do think that inevitably that will bring rates down. So I think that we might be entering more of a buyer's market in I don't want to say the short term, but certainly not the long term either. But I think we're
Yep.
on the beginning fringes of that type of market.
Yeah, I was a denier. I actually, I think if I recall back, I call it a balanced market. I think if I recall
Okay.
correctly.
Okay. I like it. I like it.
Let's rewind the
That
tape.
seems
Let's
like
rewind the tape.
that sounds like a political term right there. You can't be charged with going in either direction, really.
Well, I guess that leads into my article. Unless you got something else to comment on the build to rent, but I mean they're here, they're
No, that's
coming,
it.
and they're going to increase the
Yeah.
supply. It is what it is.
Yeah. I guess I just to wrap up on that, and I don't mean to suggest that there's any doom and gloom, but it's definitely something you want to be aware of, right? As you're entering the
Yeah,
market, is the competition that you're soon to be up against.
I will
So
say, I will say this, Chris. The couple that I have seen, there's one that I'm thinking of in Westfield that is totally built out, and I'm not sure what this one's going to look like in Brownsburg, but it it doesn't exactly have the feel of a single family typical um residential
community.
community. The one that I'm thinking of, it definitely was kind of a cross between an apartment and a single family home. It felt,
Okay.
I don't know how to describe it, but it felt
It had the vibe of
very
an apartment complex.
institutional. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yep.
And like nobody had big yards. It was very tight. It was like technically a single family home, but just because it wasn't attached. But it didn't feel like, I don't know. So I think there's um, still a market out there for single family homes in subdivisions that you want to raise a family in. So I don't know.
Of course.
That's just my
Yeah.
2 cents.
Yeah, and not overly concerned about the competition level, the economic growth that's happening here in the Indianapolis area, and soon over the long term for sure. I think is a wonderful market to be getting into,
Yeah.
even if you're looking at picking up one or two single family investment properties.
Yep. All right. So
Yeah.
let me
All
go
right.
on to
Let's see
mine.
what you got.
It kind of piggybacks onto yours, and this may shock you, but actually, I have two articles, but they're pretty much related. Chris only allowed me to pick one, but I'm going to bend the rules here and kind of pick two because they're basically the same thing. Uh, so the first one is to Chris's point. The article is from IBJ, both of mine from IBJ. New home applications in central Indiana see the first drop since mid 2023. So this is new construction. We have a lot of investors buying new construction. And so we talked about perhaps where is the market going? Is this going to be a buyer's market, a seller's market, a balanced market? And so this is just maybe a little bit of evidence that, we might be seeing a little bit of a slowdown. So this is after more than a year and a half of seeing rising home applications, central Indiana residential builders experienced a drop in demand for new homes as 2025 opened. And so they filed 700 permits in the 9-county area in January, a decrease of 3% with the same month of 2024. And then kind of the similar news on existing home sales, also from IBJ. Title is New Year opens with fewer existing home sales, higher prices. Home sales in central Indiana got off to a slow start in 2025 with January snowstorms likely cooling off the pace. Closed transactions dropped 0.8% year over year. All sales have been blah, blah, blah. The median sales price rose 4.3%. So even though we're seeing a decrease in activity, we are still seeing an increase in price. And so this is kind of my argument that's why it's going to be balanced. And because I think it's going to kind of just even itself out. And I don't think prices are going down. I don't think interest rates are going down, but the interest in sales is going to slow down, or it looks like it's going to slow down at least a little bit year over year.
Whenever you get a shift in a market, though, isn't that exactly what you see? Where, I mean, I realize in your article, it's kind of odd that they're like the snowstorms probably affected the slowdown in the market, and
Yeah,
I don't buy that.
I don't buy that
I
either.
don't buy that. And I think whenever you have a shifting market, this is exactly what you see. The numbers economically, economic data is indicating these numbers, but you're still seeing rising home prices. That's because your average seller, number one, is probably isn't being properly informed by whatever professional they're working with, or they're still trying to achieve what their neighbor down the street did 6 months
Yeah,
ago, which is $25,000 more than what they're being told that their home is worth right now. I think that's what we're seeing right now, and I think that for lack of a better word, or maybe there is a better word and I just don't know it, but consumer, right? That person who's putting their house on the market, reality hasn't hit them yet, so that's
yeah.
going to start to hit where the market data is pointing the direction, and I think we're going to see home prices decrease, especially with, I mean, golly, we all see what's going on with the roller coaster. And I certainly don't want to get political here on this podcast. You can find that on my other one. No, I'm
No,
just kidding.
but it does play into this, and it's like we're kind of at a weird situation, like nationally and economically. There's like, are we going into a recession? And then Trump's
Yeah,
talking about the tariffs, and it's going to be on lumber products. So if it's on lumber products and it's 25%, that's going to drive up the price of new homes, which then
steel,
drives up
yeah.
the price of existing homes. So I mean, we're kind of at a really spot of a lot of unknowns right now. So I'm going to make my
Yeah.
prediction. My prediction is it's going to be a balanced market. And the good houses, the top houses, there's going to be like two different markets. If your house is nice, if it's priced right, and if it looks good, staged right, it's going to sell quickly, and you might even get multiple offers. I'm going to say that all the way through spring, summer. And then there's going to be the bottom half where you're going to see the higher days on the market. You're going to see homes that can't sell. So that's what I think is going to happen this spring and summer. Interest rates, I think everybody agrees, or maybe come down a little bit, but nothing substantial. So that's my prediction on the market.
Yeah, yeah. I think the best hope for any type of reduction is May, I think, is the next when they're talking about even potentially lowering. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I like it. I like it. And even more so, if you're watching this and you've got a two, God, if you're lucky enough to have a two or a three or really even a
Oh,
4%
don't
interest
give
rate
it up.
right now,
Don't give it up.
don't sell it. Yes,
Never.
if your job is changing, I don't care where you're going, hold on to that property.
Yeah.
Inevitably, even if the short term, if my prediction is right and home prices do begin to come down, we all know, right? Inevitably, in the long term, it's going to increase in value. But
Yep.
gosh, yeah, your rate on that property,
Oh my gosh.
you don't just sacrifice that.
No.
You hold on to that, rent your property out. You're going to be solid here in the Midwest if you do that. So I think
Yep.
that's good. I think that wraps at least on the economic portion of our podcast
Yeah,
there.
we decided to keep it a little bit shorter this month because we got a little carried away last month. And actually, it's kind of a slow slow news month anyway. It was February. Nobody's doing anything. It's cold. The snowstorms are slowing everybody down. so,
Yeah, everyone's
uh,
slowing down. I mean, if you want to talk about the weather, my goodness, we're just, I mean, this week has been incredible, right? I mean,
gorgeous,
it's 60,
gorgeous.
65 degrees. Finally, my furnace has taken a break because it was
Yes.
running literally nonstop with the cold temperatures that we've had here. So it's been really refreshing. And I know we're getting away from it here. And I kind of hit this little book right here in the background because I know it's like totally pop culture. Can you even read it? Can you see what it is?
No, I can see it's gold fourth something. I can't
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, fourth wing. Fourth wing.
Oh,
No, so it hasn't hit you yet, huh?
I am not pop
Oh
culture
my
guy.
gosh,
No,
it's
I'm, I've
everywhere.
never heard of it ever.
It's everywhere right now. Everyone's talking about fourth ring. So I had it here as if I were attempting to read it, which I'm not. But maybe I'll get it on audio. But everyone,
Audiobooks.
all my
Yeah, that's
friends,
how I do mine.
yeah, they're all reading it. It's like an adult version of Harry Potter, is what it is.
Ah,
So
okay. Okay. Okay.
whatever that's worth.
All
I'll let you know if
right.
I end up cracking it. But there it is, hanging out in the background. Maybe somebody will comment it here in the comments in the chat. So we'll see. On that note, that's going to wrap up the economic portion, and I say we just keep rolling here for just a minute. And let's something else I wanted to talk about is a conversation that I had with an owner yesterday, and I want to kind of get your
Okay.
take on this as well. All right, so a couple points. One, so she's a new investor to the area. She's already the property is pending. She's talking to a lot of property management companies, and she's kind of getting some mixed news. It's on the west side, just north of Speedway. It's in an okay area. Um, Probably I would call it probably a C plus area.
Okay.
But anyway, the conversation I'm having with her is because she's a new investor into real estate, and a lot of those individuals tend to just jump on Google and like, what questions should I ask a property management company
Yeah.
that I'm exploring? And I think that that's such a recipe for disaster for a couple reasons. I think that is inclined to get you in bed with such an inexperienced property management company. And as I dive into these questions, we'll see if you agree, because a lot of those very generic questions aren't the questions you need to be asking. Because honestly, the easiest reason why is because the person that you're on the phone with can simply lie, right? And just to earn your business, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden you've lost a whole bunch of money. It's
Yeah.
so important that you're working with someone with experience, and something in your research needs to indicate that that individual does have the experience. If it's not coming through the conversation that you're having with them on the phone, something in your research, something you found on their website needs to indicate that these people are the experts in the industry, because it can cost you a tremendous amount of money if you're not working with that type of individual. All right. So enough of my rant there. Here's some of the questions. One of the questions was, what's your average turn costs? So I get this question a lot. And what's your average turn cost? This is exactly, so I think that if I want to earn your business, and I don't have very much integrity, I'll be
Yeah.
like, oh, our average turn cost, it's $500.
Yeah.
It's $1,000 for the
Yeah.
owner. Well, that's not giving you any information other than leading you astray. The
Yeah.
question that you need to ask, if you really want to know about what your turn costs, it's not going to give you a dollar figure. It's an impossible question because it varies greatly, right? The question I think you should be focusing on there, if you really want to know, or if you want to really keep your average turn cost down, is what do you do in order to keep turn costs down? Now, this is going to
Yeah.
reveal a couple things, a couple efforts that are being made by your property management company. Number one, and this is what I went into, and sometimes I can go into it kind of to a new investor. If you go into this big spiel, it can be a little bit scary to them,
Yeah.
right? Like, this guy's going on and on about stuff that I really don't understand, but I think it's so important to have this conversation with her. I don't know if she'll ever call me again, because I went into this. I was like,
Yeah.
man, the question that you're asking, I would highly encourage you, being a new investor to the area. So one of the questions I would ask is, what are you doing in order to keep the turn costs down? And
Right.
so one of the biggest things that we would do is performing inspections,
Yeah.
right? And then not only just performing the inspection, because a lot of management companies will say that they perform inspections, but then what all is involved in that process? Well, you perform inspections, and then do you hold the tenant accountable during that inspection? And what's that timeline like? Given, should you find any lease violations, or
Yeah.
is the carpet overly worn? Are the walls heavily damaged during that inspection? Are you just going to notate it and then hope when the tenant moves out that that's covered by the tenant's security deposit? Because if so, that's a terrible mistake. That's
Well,
how
and then
you
like
keep your turn
what's the
costs
proof?
down.
Talking about somebody lying, you could just say, "Oh, well, yeah, I did the inspection, everything looked good." Well, what evidence do you have that
Yeah.
an inspection was done? I mean, for example, we do a video walkthrough and we send it to our owners. I mean, good, bad, or ugly, they get a copy of it and they know exactly the condition of their property. So, yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, so those are the questions that you want to ask. Don't just jump on Google and ask those. You need to dial in what is your property manager or what are the people you're talking to doing in order to keep costs down? And that is holding the best way to answer that, the best way to accomplish that is holding a tenant accountable throughout the lease term and not hoping that a security deposit covers those damages at the end of their lease term because it won't in some cases. So
Yeah.
there was one other one that she asked that I really wanted a bullet point here, and that's what's your vacancy rate? And again, right? I mean, if I wanted to earn this lady's business, I could have told her, it's 2%, it's
Yep.
it's 3%, whatever. But that what you need to be asking is what efforts are you making in order to place tenants quicker? Well, in my what we do here at Red Door, in order to place tenants quicker, because it's advantageous for both the owner as well as the management company, right?
Yep.
Because the property is nothing but an expense until we place a tenant.
Yep.
So what are we doing in order to place a tenant quicker? Well, we do virtual walkthroughs, which a lot of times will help applications come in before the property is even ready for viewing, if it happens to be tenant occupied at the time. Uh, more importantly, it's transparent communication with the owner. It's marketing updates, right? It's
Yep.
weekly updates that are performed with the owner and making quick suggestions on market rate in order to produce applications, and that's all indicated by how many clicks, how many showings have you had on the property. Anyway, so before I ask what's your vacancy rate, I want to know what is it exactly that you're doing in order
Right.
to place tenants quicker. That's the question you want to replace that with. So
Yeah.
when I came across those questions, I really wanted to bring them up here and kind of get your 2 cents.
No, I love it. I mean, specifically on the vacancy thing, you're right. Anybody can say, "Oh, yeah, it's 5% or 8% or whatever sounds good." Um,
Yeah,
but for example, what we do, I mean, these market reports are a part of what we do to educate ourselves, to
yeah,
educate our owners, and to educate our employees to make recommendations to our owners to react quickly to the market, to know that, hey, if you have a townhouse in Westfield, well, you've got a lot of competition and your days on the market on average is going to be super high. So we need to probably be a little bit more aggressive this year on our pricing
bingo.
than maybe next year. And so that's the advice that we're going to give to our owners. And so, I mean, that's just a couple of things that we do, and we do pass that information along. Like I said, good, bad, or ugly, our owners need to know that. I mean, it doesn't do us any good if we price a townhome for $2,800 and everyone else is at 2,500, and we're like, hey, everyone else is
Yeah.
at 2,500 with 73 days on the market. We need to be below that. So I don't know. I think just like market knowledge, transparency, owner communication, all of that.
Exactly. Yeah. So if you're a new investor to any market, and I even told her on the phone, like, you don't have to work with us, but being a new investor, I really want to encourage you to ask these other questions that are going to be indicative of what you're getting into and who it is that you're going to be working with, because that decision, and she lives on the completely other side of the universe, essentially, on the other
Yep.
side of the US. Um, you partnering up with the right management company is absolutely essential to your success. So be
Making
sure
it
to
worth it.
ask the questions. Is the only point I wanted to make here, and yeah, that's it. That's all I wanted to get across here. Is we're going to jump into these market reports, which if you're ready, we can jump in over there.